start recording. Ooh. Hello. Okay, we should be live. Let me post the announcements. Posting in Discord. There's actually 2 Discord ones because there's office hours and live streams.
Yes.
There we go. And we're gonna post the social media, post. Here we go. Hello, do we have people in our stream? Hello, it's on Twitch. Hello, PD_. Hello. IPC Schnoppet. Oh, I do. Oh my god, we were literally talking about it like right before the stream started. It was like one issue, but we're gonna get into it.
Yes.
But first, like, you know, the initial preamble. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, hello. Can you hear us fine? Is the audio okay? Prop Nemo.
Hello.
Hey, check the Fox Otter. Thank you. Check the Fox Otter also made like a cool new version of the Twitch chat. I can show you. Like, it has timestamps now. He was literally working on this like in a world like yesterday. And he was like, I need to make it work before the resonance so it doesn't explode. So thank you, Jack. It's appreciated.
Thank you very much.
It looks fancier with the timestamps. Oh no, right, the music, the audio is from the Twitch chat, and like that's right behind the camera, so you probably heard it really loud, I'm sorry. I'm gonna actually move it like over here, there we go.
Oh, we could probably turn the popping noise off for the Twitch chat.
Yeah, let's turn the popping noise off. Should timestamp message sound, there we go.
Yeah.
Pinning, okay, should be good.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear us fine? Other than like the suddenly loud music. And also adjust the camera angle a bit. So hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Resonance. I'm Froox, and also have Sarah with me. You made it this time. And we'll be answering your questions about Resonite. Whatever you want to ask, feel free. Make sure to put a question mark at the end of your message, that way it, like, you know, pops on our thing. Pretty much like, you know, like so. You can ask pretty much anything you want about Resonite, whether it's technical, philosophical, it can even be like, you know, personal stuff, like that's kind of nice, like, you know, with some lighter stuff mixed in. It can be anything about the team, the future, the past of the platform, whatever you want to know, feel free to ask. Some of the questions we might end up hunting to some of the other office hours, like for example right before this one that was the moderation office hours. There's also probably primes on Tuesday. Our team has like ones on Wednesday. J4 actually is planning one. I don't remember where that one is, unfortunately. Check the Discord. There's the events calendar, and there's also like information in devlog, so you can find more information about those. But we should be pretty much ready to get started. We also have a few questions from Discord, but if you're like, you know, watching this, like ask your questions on Twitch, because we're not going to be monitoring the Discord anymore. But we're going to go through the Discord ones first, because there's like, you know, fixed amount, and we actually don't have 2 minutes this time around. And then we're going to get into the Twitch ones. So let's get started. Or am I forgetting something? Did I forget anything?
I don't think so. I think we're good to go.
Oh, okay. Let me actually also I'm probably gonna make it, there we go, so it doesn't keep floating around. So let's check the first question from, oh, it's actually one from Aegis. So Aegis, I don't know if this is gonna be visible. Aegis is asking, been working on a new hitscan-based weapon system that fakes projectiles as simply async loop of raycast chain following the path of where the projectile is going, and using particle for projectile visual. With that as context, 2 questions I have. 1, how is projectile speed calculated? Is it meters per second or so? 2, could I potentially use particle attractors to make particle follow an object or player? So 1, it kind of depends how you... Ooh, thank you. Ooh, what was that? Thank you, Nukikun, for the raid. So the first one, it kind of depends how you calculate things. Like usually the math you use, that's your own. But the units on Resonite, the distance, that's pretty much, you can treat it as meters. Especially in VR, if you got like one unit, that's gonna it's gonna look like 1 meter for user at one scale. So if you're calculating how fast is something moving, that would probably be meters per second, which are like sort of the standard units. But you can convert to units, or whatever internal system you're using, it might be using different units, and then you need to kind of convert it. But by default, yes, it's gonna be meters per second. The second question, yes, there's the particle force. So you could you could set up a module that has the particle radial force, for example, and you can position that or drive, the center of that at an object or a player, and that will make the particles, follow the target. So you should be able to do that. The only limitation is you need to actually add the module to the particle system itself, to the style, and make sure it's driven correctly, the position's driven for where the player is, and it's all in the correct coordinate spaces. But yep, pretty much that should be, I don't think there's much more to add to that. The next question's from Josh, sorry. Josh knows. Josh is asking, will the switch to system numerics involve kicking the bucket on most, if not all, of the very lovely Coder T class? I don't know if I would use that adjective on it, that thing has been turning...
Oh, your microphone died. Froox is getting his voice back, guys, one moment. I believe in you. I'll do a little jig while he fixes his mic.
Oh, this one too. Okay, I think it's back.
Ah, there you are.
Oh well, sorry. My microphone decided to die and then not want to turn back on. But yeah, every time I have to touch the Coder T class, I'm like, please no more. We want to switch to .NET 9 and switch to a nicer way. But reading the rest of the question, System Numerics provides bajillion interfaces for basically every mod operation that Coder T wrangles in its generic templating madness, which probably simplifies code a bunch. Also leads to pretty neat speed boost. A friend of mine benchmarked 1 million additions using Coder T versus System Numerics interfaces in Float, and it was a difference of 2.5 milliseconds versus 0.2 milliseconds for them after JIT caught up with them both. Though it seems System Numerics by own vector types don't implement any of these interfaces, there's some interesting discussion as to what's up with that. So it's not going to be the switch to System Numerics itself, but we do want to kind of get rid of the Coder T, or at least get rid of the large chunk of it. But it's a separate kind of task from the switch to System Numerics. Pretty much one of the really nice things with .NET 9 is, and actually I don't remember which version they introduced in, is but a lot of the base data types they implement interfaces for stuff like addition. So you can have 2 types that can be added together, and then you can use it as a generic constraint. And it's something that we were not able to use with Mono because it just straight up doesn't exist. And that's kind of why Coder T was created, and it just kind of bloated over time as we needed more and more functionality. But with .NET 9, once the splittening is the main part is done, we definitely do want to get rid of it. We want to rework a lot of the parts and use the interfaces and the generic constraints, because that's gonna make the code so much nicer and also more performant. Generally, I don't think it's gonna affect that much in terms of practical performance, because usually we try to avoid using the coder for a lot of heavy math stuff. There's few places where it's used a bit, but usually we can avoid it, for the reason that there is a fair bit of overhead with it. So it's only used in cases where it's very unavoidable. and it shouldn't be like, you know, where most of the code is like where most of the time is being spent. So I don't know how much of a difference it's gonna make for, you know, overall performance, but every little bit helps, and it's gonna make the code much nicer to work with anyway, so we're gonna do it. Just not as part of the switch to system numerics, it's a separate task.
I think like more so what would help is like switching like the vector types out themselves for like system numerics vectors, or like basing them off of the system numerics types, because like even just changing the types around, like just changing the types around can provide like performance.
That's what the switch to system numerics is. It's pretty much like using those for like, you know, the vector operations, and that like I do expect to have like kind of substantial boost. Because that's like, you know, where a lot of the heavy math is, but it also, you know, it doesn't have anything to do with the coder tree. That's more like, you know, just the code data types. So that's like what I'm saying, like those two are separate tasks. And then we got one more question from the Discord. Mintshock is asking, what is the most expensive part of Resonite backend? Cloud storage, asset distribution, variation generation, cloud wars, or anything else? So it kind of depends. I don't have the numbers at hand, but it depends a little bit on how you would slice it. I can see if I can log in into the thing real quick, but I might not be able to do that in VR. Let's see if this loads up.
I mean,
It depends. Oh no, wait, I can get into it. Actually, no, never mind. This is not. This is my personal Azure. Yeah, I have to like pull the numbers together. Yeah, I can't log into like in VR, unfortunately. Also, it kind of depends how you slice it, because there's like, you know, for example, what do you consider storage? Because the biggest part that costs the most, like they would probably see, is compute. After the storage also takes a chunk. But like it's kind of hard to like separate some of these costs, because, you know, in order to use some storage we have to use compute, and then to use compute you also need some storage. Like for example, you know, the compute services for API, that's gonna use stuff like queues, and it's gonna use stuff like, you know, like a Redis cache, which you can consider kind of storage. So it depends a bit like how you slice it. It's like it's a little bit hard to, like, you know, separate them. Cloud is also like, some of these are not like individual things, like Cloud Wars, like, you know, that's mostly using like storage, like tables. But there's also like, you know, compute involved, because you need the API to actually serve the requests, and it might be harder to kind of isolate some of these. Some of them as well, so for example, the variation generation, we have like a server with a fixed cost that, like, you know, is multi-core server, and that has a good amount of like processing power, and that like is currently enough. So, but that cost is fixed, and the server is also doing lots of, you know, other stuff. It's like running other services, so it's harder to separate those costs. I would say, like, if you were like look at the raw numbers, I would probably say compute is the biggest one. But again, like, you know, it kind of depends how you break it down. So that's all our questions from Discord, which means we can get, like, you know, to the Twitch ones. And the first one, like, I already kind of started like answering. BD underscores is asking IPC Schnopit. So for those of you who don't know, what I've been like working on, like what I've been also specifically working on pretty heavily, has been the Splittening, which is separating, you know, Froox engine from Unity into two separate processes, and having those two processes communicate over IPC, which is inter-process communication. And so, like, I've been kind of like, you know, we need like a mechanism for the two processes to communicate, so like the main engine can send data to Unity to be rendered, with those two being completely separate processes. And for that, like, we pretty much like majorly using shared memory. Because it's like really, really fast, and then there's like this library called interprocess that actually Cyro help kind of like prep and like test and fix up a bunch of like issues with it to make it usable, especially even across like different platforms. And the library's like helped quite a bit. It has like a cool queue mechanism, which is built on top of shared memory, where you can put messages in the queue and then like read them on the other end. And it uses shared memory, so like you don't, it's like really fast. It also uses system level semaphores to like signal, so you can have like literally one process wake up a thread in another process, which is also like very speedy. This Sunday I finally fixed one of the issues that was kinda one of those harder ones to diagnose. If you see the devlogs, there's been this like weird thing that would happen where everything, like all the particles and all the acid updates would just freeze out of the blue. Everything would just stop. And I was like, why is that happening? And after a bunch of like isolation, I managed to find the queuing mechanism. It's actually not like, it just stops. Like it like even if I keep sending messages on both ends, they're just not coming through. So I was like, why is that happening? Is there like issue with the library itself? So I started digging through the library code and actually found there's like a race condition. And what it like ended up being is so with multi-threading, one thing that can happen that you have to consider is like what operations are atomic and which operations are not atomic. Because if operation is not atomic, the operating system can literally, even if something seems like a small operation, it can actually be two different operations at like that are separate. And what can happen is the timing happens such that like the operating system will stop your thread literally in middle of that operation that you might have thought is atomic but is not. So half of it gets performed and the other half doesn't, and then it lets another thread run, which will cause like weirdness. And specifically what is happening with this library is when it writes its data, it writes a header for it, which is 2 integers, and each integer is like 4 bytes. So it writes 2 integers, which are packed as a struct, where one integer is a flag saying this data is ready to be read. The other integer is the size of the message. And if I grab a brush, so there's like literally a header, there's 2 integers, I'm gonna do int and int, and this is like a struct, and then you got like, you know, you got a flag, and then you got the size, and actually I'm gonna move it just a little bit over here. So what normally happens is, you know, you have like the writer of the messages and you have the reader working with this. Actually it's kind of hard to read there, I'm gonna move it down. So if you're like, you know, you've got the flag and then you go to size. And then you've got, you know, your thread that's, you know, doing stuff. And the thread, like in the code itself, it looks like, you know, this happens at once. So like, you know, it runs here and then it's done. And then the message is ready to be read with like the flag saying is ready and the size of it. However, because these are 2 integers, these are technically 2 separate operations. And what would happen now and then is the writer would write the first integer and then it would freeze. Like, you know, the operating system like, you know, would freeze the thread and it would let the reader run. And where did my brush go? So the reader, it would look at this and would be, hey, this says this is ready to, you know, ready to be read. I can process the message. So it would read the size, but because this one hasn't finished its job, it would read just 0. Or like, you know, whatever value there was, but it was pretty much 0. And now, you know, the message is kind of corrupted because like it didn't read the correct size, and it would kind of explode the queue. And things would just, you know, freeze up because like it would get into a weird state that it wouldn't really properly recover from. There was a mechanism that would like auto-recover things, but it would essentially miss some messages, so like there was probably slight like corruption happening as well. But pretty much like, the issue was this was like a race condition, and these are like oftentimes like really hard to diagnose, really hard to find. Fortunately, this one didn't take me as long as some have like in the past, but I still had to kind of dig a bit to like find this is what's happening. And pretty much like what I had to do is the main change to the code is like that before this flag gets written, the size is actually written first, so the size is there. And then so the size is like, done first, it's already staged, and only then, once everything's ready, the flag is set to like, this is ready to be read. So the flag is like, the very last thing that happens as the operation, meaning once this reader is like, okay, because this reader is like, like frequently checking the flag. Every time it tries to read a message, it looks at the flag, is like, is this ready? And once it's ready, the size is already written, and it fixed the problem completely. But it was definitely one of those issues where, like, when it started happening, I was like, this is gonna be a rabbit hole. And it actually ended up like being a rabbit hole in the library itself, which I'm a little bit surprised like nobody has found yet. I think like in part it was, because like for, the high performance, like literally have the thread like kind of hammering it like really hard, like, like for the background queue, like there's just like things being constantly written and constantly read, and it just like end up like hitting that race condition frequently. And usually like, when you get a library like that, you assume like it's not gonna have issues like that it's like, it's battle tested, but in this case it wasn't, and it took, I think it took me like 2 days to like narrow it down and then like, fix up. But now it's fixed, so it's no longer making me schnop it, it's no longer making me disintegrate. But I'm still like a bit surprised it was there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know, Sarah, if you have any like related to this, because we also work with the library quite a bit.
A little bit. There was like some weird handling of so basically what the library would try to do when, like, let's say you have multiple things trying to read one of the memory maps, is it would so it would open the memory map file as like a permissive file share mode, so like other processes could, read the file as well. The problem is that it relies on an exception being thrown when you try to open an exclusive file stream on the thing. So that's how it checks if it's in use, is if the file stream does an exception. That doesn't happen under Mono. That does not happen because Mono doesn't implement it that way. And so that mechanism is just entirely useless under Mono, especially under Linux. So what I had to do was I had to implement a secondary file that goes along with the memory map that's also memory mapped, and then I use interlocked increment and decrement on it, which makes it a nice atomic counter that I can use to determine how many users are using the file. That was a nice rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah. And it's unfortunately one of those things because, the big part of the splittening is also that we're actually, moving away from Mono, that we don't have to, like, worry about it anymore. And we don't have to deal with the issues. This is one of the few things that where we still need to, like, deal with the issue, because this is the part of the mechanism made for the two to communicate. So, it's,
yeah.
But there's only gonna be like a few now, and like most of the code is now just gonna be like nice in .NET 9, so like that's gonna be really nice. But that's for the IP session of it. Yeah, like you have like no idea how much we are excited for just, the improvement to the tooling and just being able to use modern libraries and modern language features and stuff. Like it's very exciting. Next question, we got Type on X from Ace on Twitch. Actually, wait, I'm gonna keep the brush around. Do you have a Type on X? I'm actually gonna Typox. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm gonna say why Typox. I'm just gonna be lazy again. I'm gonna make it related to the snippet. It's the shared memory. It's such a cool concept. Like it's like. it's literally a mechanism where you have two processes share the same chunk of physical memory, which makes them kind of behave as if, you know, like it makes the code not too different, especially if you structure it right. It makes it not too different from just working within the same process. And that's like super cool that you can do that, because like it makes architectures like this feasible and it makes them very speedy, because it's literally like there's no serialization, there's no copying, like, you know, like from some kind of like communication mechanism. You literally write to the chunk of memory, and the chunk of memory is also owned by the other process. So like the data is just immediately there. And that allows, you know, for us to like implement this really cool IPC architecture that's very, very speedy for like the data exchange. Because literally we have like, you know, one process stages the data, the other one just reads it, and we don't even need to like, you know, serialize and deserialize it, because it's just, we just interpret the data like, you know, appropriately. And I'm like just literally really glad, you know, for this kind of mechanism to exist.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna be lazy and make it about that too.
Thank you for the subscription, Bravo Jules Bear? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name exactly.
Bravo Jules B34R. Thank you very much for subscribing.
Thank you.
I'm gonna also be lazy and make it about mine as well. I'm actually very proud of the atomic like file usage counter that I made.
Yes.
I can just use interlocked increment and decrement on the memory map. It works.
That's super cool, like, because it's even in C#, like you can literally use the same mechanisms just on the shared memory, and also with spans. Like a lot of the code, like when I was, for example, making photon dust work, like with photon dust I already knew, like, you know, we're gonna use shared memory to put the data. So the way photon dust, the way I designed it, is so it actually, all the final data for rendering is just put into this big memory buffer. That's just 0 bytes. And all I have to do is just swap the mechanism, so instead of just allocating array, it actually uses... Ooh, thank you, Jake the Fox, for the subscription. Get another one. Yay, thank you. But like I literally had to just replace the allocator. So like it allocates it in shared memory, but most of it just uses spans. And spans, they're like this beautiful abstraction mechanism where it doesn't care where the data is. It can be managed memory, it can be native memory, it can be shared memory, which is just a form of native memory. And like pretty much most of the code just stay the same, and it just works. Like when I go to particles, like I remember just being like, I implemented particles, fixed up a few issues, and then it was just working, and I was like, it just works. It's just there the same way, you know, it was before, but now it's a completely different mechanism. It's going from one process to another. So that's it's very cool. Yes. I really like the language, and you can use a lot of the features, like, you know, regardless where the memory is.
I also realize they might not know what I'm saying by interlocked.
Oh. Yeah, that's like a...
yeah.
It's like a nice like set of classes for like in C# for working like with like doing sort of atomic operations. And you can like typically use them, like, you know, on managed memory, but like it just works the same, like regardless, like even if it's native memory.
Yeah.
It just works, TM. So the next question is from... I'm kind of covering up. Next question's from BD_. Amazing process on the Splittening, looking forward to pre-releases. So far, any interesting bugs that were accidentally fixed as side effect of Splittening? I don't know if there's been any. Not that I noticed, like most of it's been kind of focused on just, you know, fixing the bugs of the split caused by the Splittening, just reworking everything. Yeah, I don't...
the hitches from when you first like pick up an item from like that boost colliders generating the JIT?
I haven't tested it yet. I mean, I don't consider it a bug either. That's more just, you know, undesirable behavior, but like not a bug. Yeah, like most of it is like really been just focusing on the bugs.
The one where our generic typing for like casting an unsigned byte to like a signed type, it like ignores like the signing. So if you were to cast like a byte to an integer and do like byte 255, it would do integer negative 127.
I haven't tested it either. Like literally, like so far it's just been like focusing on splitting, just getting things to work and fixing whatever bugs come, like, you know, along with it. Like there's probably gonna be like, you know, stuff like that we noticed in the past, but like I haven't really tested any of it like yet. And there's like nothing that like would I consider like accidental fix that like wasn't expected. So right now like I don't have any. We might like find stuff, you know, during the pre-release, which should be coming soon. I was kind of hoping like to make one today, but it was like today's kind of slow, so I still need to like fix up the render to texture, some of the issues with that. But I think there's a very, very good chance the pre-release is gonna open tomorrow. With a caveat, you know, that like it's not gonna have everything implemented yet. There's still like a chunk of things that need to be done, but the goal is to start testing as soon as possible. Because like when the testing is going, you know, you can help us out like by narrowing down issues and, you know, and sort of isolating them while we still kind of work on the other things, and it helps speed things up like overall. So I think, again, barring something complex happening, I think it's gonna be tomorrow at this point. So yeah, but also like, you know, a bunch of stuff missing. Like for example, the build's not gonna have VR support yet. Like you won't be able to run in VR. It's gonna be desktop only, which is like, you know, good enough for like a lot of the testing. But during testing period, like, I'm gonna be like implementing the remainder of the like things, which you can already check on GitHub as well. I spent like time like yesterday like organizing everything, so you can kind of see, you know, what needs to be done. Jack the Fox Arthur is asking, should I be concerned about textures that can see me? There's no reason to worry, like no reason to worry at all. Just don't worry. The textures just like to look like you look. It's only fair because like the entire time you're in VR or in Resonite, what do? You spend time looking at textures. You look at them so much, it's only fair that one of them will get to look back at you. It's only fair. Nukikun's asking, Fruxius, why are you yellow? No, it's just, are you yellow? I mean, yes. Nukikun, sir, are you yellow?
No.
Yeah, this is simple questions. Bipolar, Fuzzy Bipolar Bear is asking, who ate Froox's mic? I don't know, it just likes to turn off sometimes. Nukikun's asking, what world are you in and why are you in here? So this world is called Deep Dreams. It's by the Team Vibes. It's one of their MMC entries. Actually, I forget which year it is. Let me check. 2023. And it's a beautiful world. It's like, it's kind of... It matches like the, you know... It's really hot over here. It's very, very, very pretty world. And it's kind of like, you know, kind of tropical themed, which kind of matches the weather, so I was like, let's do this one. I really like the visuals of it. I'm gonna switch it to third person. Let's look around a little. This might be a little bit weird, like, because I'm kind of in full body, so I'm just gonna be kind of floating around, but you got this, like, you know, you got this cool pool, there's like a... Let's actually go back to spawn. So as you go through, and let me adjust the camera a little bit more, there's like, you know, this nice area, which I might like actually end up like using some of this too, like for future streams, because like this is its own vibe. Like I really like this area. This one's super cool. And there's like this where you can go through. And it's this very, like, it's very dark, so maybe not this area, but it's very, very, very pretty. And there's like this kind of pool where you can kind of see inside and you can actually go. And there's like fish that like will react to you as well. I forget if they're in here or elsewhere. I know they're somewhere. It's just a really, really pretty world. As one of the reasons I like is because the Team Vibes, like, they make some of the most beautiful and graphically polished worlds on the Resonite. So I think they're also, like, you know, a really good showcase of like what you can do. And the other reason is also I was testing this world like earlier on the Splittening build, where here we go. Let's get outside. I was testing this build, like, you know, on the Splittening build. Just to see like how it loads. I was capturing some screenshots and such, because I think like these worlds, because they're like so complex, like they make a good test. It's also like this area, which I jumped into water. There we go, let's go. There's like a bar, and it's also like a whole mechanic where you can make like shakes, and there's like, you know, fruit around. Probably not gonna do it because it takes a bit, but there's fruit. Ooh, and we got there's fruit, and you can like make things. It's very, very nice. There's a lot of like interactivity to it. Let's see, who was that? We got a. Oh, it auto scrolled by. What was? It was a raid, but the... Oh, it's Skywolves. Thank you for the raid. I'm gonna position myself back here. But yeah, this is definitely a cool world. I recommend checking it out. The other reason is also, like, you know, like, I feel we have so many cool worlds on Resonite, and like, sometimes people will go to them and then they will kind of forget. And this one's like, what, like 2 years old? And like, I feel like people don't really visit this one anymore. But like, it's still like, you know, it's a beautiful world, so I like to kind of go through the older ones. And every resonance, you know, I try to like take a different world, so we might go like, you know, kind of back into history through some of them. So that kind of answers that question. Okay, let me also position myself back. There we go. Let's see. Next question's from Moonbase. Do you like the color blue? I'll say it kind of depends. A lot of colors, it's kind of like, you know, what specific shade it is and how is it used. Because you've got, you know, like the deep blue like this, but you also got like, you know, cyan like this one. So it kind of depends. It can be like a really nice color. How about you, Sarah?
I mean, one of my eyes is blue, so I guess I like it.
Yes. You half like it and half green. It's also funny because in some languages like Chinese, like they didn't differentiate between like blue and green for like a really long time. They just consider them the same color, just like different shades. Next question's from Check the Fox Author. Right now, I'm sorry, got a coloring side for the questions.
That's fine.
Right now the FPS limits when unfocused only works if the game was started in this mode without VR runtime. Is there any chance it could also work when the game was started with VR runtime post-splittening? Probably not, because like when you run it with VR, the VR runtime kind of like takes control of the frame pacing. So that would have to be kind of figured out. Like we have to, like I think we would have to like disengage the VR runtime somehow. And right now, like we could look into it, like if there's like, you know, a lot of interest, but it's also like one of those things where it might be kind of hard to do or even impossible to do, depending on how the runtimes like end up like working out. We might need to like unload VR completely, which might have like, you know, its own kind of issues. So not sure about that one. Next question's from Check the Fox Author. Also, any chance the Clipboard rework fixed losing alpha channel when copying to Clipboard? So, what I've actually ended up like fixing is when you paste something from Clipboard, it'll check if there's like fancier formats available, and use that, which actually makes copying images with alpha work like when you paste them in. I tried fixing the like copying, but it's a little bit more involved to get working, and I was like, this is not a priority right now, so right now it doesn't work right. And one of the reasons is like there's like actually two APIs. There's like the API for just working with bitmaps in Clipboard, but it's actually older and like the windows will make a bunch of conversions. But there's a newer one, where it put like more complex data objects into the Clipboard, and it's like how a lot of the image pasting works and how also like other formats work. The good thing is like it's easier to work with it right now because it's just kind of part of the process. So I do want to take a stab at it, or maybe have somebody on the team like take a look at it and figure out like the right formats and how to like format everything so it works. And we could even look into like one of the things I would want to get work is, for example, copying and pasting audio. So like we can just be working with Audacity and like copy audio and just paste it in here and make things like super simple, and kind of like build on the the Clipboard interactions. But that's post-splittening thing. Because it unfortunately wasn't trivial to fix, and I was like, this, and I have like other priorities right now, so I need to like punt that for later. But it's gonna be easier to fix. That's the main part. Oh no, why is Twitch censoring this one? I imagine it's just numerics. Why did it censor that? Shining here is asking, when numerics finally brings in complex numbers, what's the first node or component you want to extend with them as input? I mean, I don't really have like any specific... Well, there's assumptions that numerics will not automatically give complex numbers. We do want to add complex numbers, and the numerics will make it easier to do that, but like, it's not gonna happen automatically. We still have to add complex numbers. So like, that's not like the complex numbers are not gonna happen automatically with the system numerics. However, once we do add complex numbers, I don't really have like any favorite. Like it's mostly just like adding the standard set. So like anything like any of the like math nodes, like they'll have like versions of it, but I don't have any specific one. Sorry, if you got any thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't know. I suppose like complex numbers. What for specifically complex numbers? I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess they'll make certain types of math easier, I suppose, but I don't have any specific thing. Yeah. I know that I'm pretty sure system numerics has like a complex number type, but I imagine we still need to like implement it.
That's what I said. Like it's not just because we switch like use to system numerics doesn't mean you get it automatically. But yeah, like not really any specific ones. It's just like nice. It'll be nice like having it for like simplifying a lot of math. So just the general support with math nodes, but that's about it. So Glitch was asking, is mayonnaise an instrument? Is that a SpongeBob reference?
Yeah, it's a SpongeBob reference.
No, I know. He's I'm just we have this thing like where Glitch is like, he's always like, there's a SpongeBob reference, and there's like so many things that are a SpongeBob reference that I don't know are a SpongeBob reference. Apparently even a lot of stuff on the Resonite that happens is a SpongeBob reference, and I'm like oblivious to it because I never watched SpongeBob, and then Glitch made me watch a bunch of SpongeBob, so I get some of the references. And also yes, well, you see, that's the power of VR. We can make mayonnaise that actually is an instrument on here. So the answer could very well be yes.
I don't
know what? If anybody's watching, somebody please make a mayonnaise instrument. Just make it happen. Make a mayonnaise instrument so we can then just be, you know, when somebody asks, is mayonnaise an instrument? We can answer yes, it is an instrument. Here it is. You can play it.
No.
Please make mayonnaise an instrument.
Please don't.
Please, yeah, do. No. Just if you need motivation, think how much Sire will suffer.
I'm gonna cry now.
No, I wanna cry. But please make it an instrument. Think of the memes. Next question is from Cosmic Waffle. Roughly, how long do you estimate it will be before Splittening hits stable branch? This kind of depends, you know, how many issues there are, but I think like it's very likely gonna happen by the end of this month. You know, things can always happen, so you can like, you know, we run into complications, but so far right now things feel pretty good. Like I've run like, you know, the builds where I would pretty much run through a bunch of worlds and it would run for like, you know, 40 minutes. I went through the entire like Mesa like ride, and things are pretty stable. There's like some issues, but like it's gotten to the point where we'll see what happens with pre-release testing, but right now I do feel like it's gonna be by the end of the month. And like now I'm worried because, you know, like I'm saying that like, and it's like, you know, Murphy's Law will try to make it not so.
Oh boy.
Next question is from Jack the Fox Author. Currently it's pretty hard for users to identify sources of lag because Resonite has unlimited profiling capabilities. What kinds of things do you have planned to help creators identify sources of lag and optimize content easier for the future? So Sarah's already being activated. Do you want to answer that part? Do you want to talk about Tracy?
Yes, I want to put Tracy Profiler in Froox Engine really badly. Basically you like instrument the functions that you want to like profile, and as you start like instrumenting more of your code base and adding like profiling zones, you can connect to the actual profiler app and it will start building out like a flame graph of like this function and then all the functions that make up the time that function took, and then like down the tree, and you can see exactly how long something took, and you can even mark locks as well, so you can diagnose lock contention as like too, and see which areas of your code base are being like contended for resources and stuff. And it's super lightweight and it's super cool, and there are ways to build it in where it doesn't even have any impact on like the runtime performance until like you turn it on, and it's amazing. I love it. I want to put it everywhere in the code base. I want to smear it all over Froox Engine. It is going to be insane, and it's going to be cool, and it's going to show us what the biggest like things are that are actually like hitting the engine, and we'll be able to use it now because the library for it, like the C# bindings, are only like .NET 7 and up. So we can actually use that library, and we can like integrate it, and then we can profile it, and then we can, whatever we want, we can see what parts of Froox Engine are the heaviest, and we can do it now.
And it's kind of cool because like it like comes like with the cool visualization tools as well, because like flame graphs, like I love flame graphs. And it's like one of those libraries like we really wanted to use and we're not able to, you know, because it's like requires the modern .NET runtime, and now we'll be able to. However, there's also like other thing, because like performance profiling, you know, is complex and flame graphs develop a lot, but there's also gonna be more tools where you can sort of measure, you know, how many assets are on like, you know, how much texture data is being loaded, how much of mesh data is being loaded. So there's also gonna be like other tools. Because usually, even like for myself, when I'm like diagnosing performance, flame graphs are like excellent, but also they don't always give you the full story for things. So there's likely gonna be more tools as well on top of that. But I think like the Tracy one, it's like a good one like to like even start with, because like it's like existing library. You can do fancy stuff like that. It's very fancy.
yeah, you can like see all of like the times that things take up. Like you can see like this thing right here, like it shows like what functions make up the function above it and the function above that. And it's I could talk about it for hours. Like oh my god, I'm gonna like explode.
You're gonna explode, and soon we'll be able to like shove it in. We're getting there. This is one of the reasons it's so like exciting for like, you know, .NET 9. So can you give me a second? I need to wipe my face because like it's really hot and it's itching my forehead and I can't. What?
Okay. Froox is sweaty. He's gonna de-sweatify, I guess.
There we go. I'll usually keep like a small towel nearby because now it's getting so hot that like my face just gets sweaty in the VR headset and I just need to like take the headset off and wipe it for a bit. It's like the worst thing is like when it like, you know, you got like sweat like rolling down and you can't reach into the headset to scratch it and it's like itching and it's awful.
Yeah, that's really awful.
I'm very excited for this. Like having tooling like this is gonna be huge. And it's also like, we'll still probably have to figure out how to kind of like, you know, expose it for things, but like, once that's done, you know, like, that's gonna be, I think, excellent tooling. Next question is from Rasmus0211. Is it possible to run the game and headless entirely offline? Examples like setting up a LAN party of source demonstration without internet access. So right now there's some issues that I know like where it won't run offline. We kind of want to fix those up at some point, but I don't think it works right now. So yeah, like right now you're probably not gonna be able to. If it's like something you're interested in, then I think there is an issue on GitHub. There's check if there's a issue on GitHub, like give an upvote if it is something, you know, like you'd like to do. Next question is from Cosmic Waffle. Also, will the splitting improve stutters, freezes when users join worlds and large items of theirs are loaded, or is it a separate issue? In my experience, that the single worst instance of bad performance currently in Resonite, so I'm curious to hear. It should help a fair bit. The problem with, like, you know, stutters is there's, like, you know, the single cause of them. So whatever the whatever the specific cause is of a given stutter, it'll depend, you know, on that. I did notice, like, you know, with .NET 9, a lot of the stutters are either gonna be so low, like you're not gonna notice them, or they're shorter. But there's also, like, you know, stutters that are, for example, with asset loading, where, you know, they need to be uploaded into the GPU, and it's probably something I think we'll have to kind of fine-tune, so it kind of balances, you know, how fast things load versus how much frame time they take. Also, like, the mechanism that we're using right now is actually, it helps with loading performance a lot, because previously what would happen is when Froox engine is, you know, doing its job, Unit is, like, not able to do anything. And then, like, once Froox engine finishes its, you know, finishes its job, it's because, like, you know, Unity was actually running the Froox engine code, then it does, you know, a bit of the asset uploading, and then it renders a frame. What happens with the splitting is actually when Unity is like, okay, I'm ready for the frame, here's the data. Froox engine is doing its updates while Unity waits on Froox engine to send a frame. It's gonna keep uploading assets to, you know, memory. So it's kind of doing that in parallel as Froox engine is, like, computing everything. And once it's ready with the frame, it sends the frame, and then Unity, you know, renders it out. And that, like, helps a lot with the loading speed, because, like, now it doesn't have to, you know, do it in sequence, but it can be doing it in parallel. But that mechanism might require some tuning. I think I'll have to kind of touch it up. But overall, it depends, you know, a lot. Like overall, the .NET 9, it speeds things up. And also, like, you know, some of the hitches were caused by the garbage collector, which should be, like, largely gone, because the garbage collector with runtime is, you know, much more smarter. but it depends. You know, there's still gonna be some hitches, and like, you know, we can look like, but the good thing is, you know, with the profile and things, we'll be able to, like, you know, diagnose more of them and figure out whatever solutions are necessary, you know, to understand. It's like, you know, there'll still be some stutters, like you shouldn't expect, you know, they're just gonna be gone completely, because there's always gonna be something that might end up, like, you know, taking too long. But the goal is, you know, is like make them lower and also, like, you know, eliminate the most common ones so you don't encounter them as often. But I don't think, like, we'll ever be able to eliminate every single source of stutter. You know, that could happen, because, like, they can happen for lots of reasons, and a lot of it can also be user content related too. And there is one thing I do want to do that's already I have a GitHub issue for, is like, if the main engine kind of stutters for too long, we'll actually keep, like, re-rendering the previous state of the scene, meaning, like, you'll be able to, like, you know, look around, but your avatar and stuff, like, will be frozen, because it's not gonna have, like, new data on it. And that should also help a bit, like, you know, with some of the stuff, especially, for example, if you're, like, watching a video. So say, like, you're watching a video, right now if it freezes, everything freezes. The video freezes, you know, that kind of disrupts you. With this, you know, like, when it happens, you will be able to see the video continue playing. So that should also help, like, make things feel much better. But I don't think we'll ever, you know, eliminate, like, 100% of it. It should just get, like, you know, a lot better across the board, but unlikely ever completely gone. Satan is asking, any question you have for chat? What's gonna... what will be the first thing you're gonna do with the splittening? I don't know. I'll have to think of this. Sarah, do you have any questions?
Let me see here. Do I have any questions?
Yeah, I guess mine is like, what's gonna be the first thing you wanna do when it releases? That's, I mean, it's kind of like on the top of my head right now, so that's kind of like, you know, what I'm asking. Cosmic Off was asking, first thing I'll do post-splittening is spawn the 1.6 million polygon Pop-Tart and see if it crashes. I mean, I don't think it's gonna help that much with that, because there's mostly GPU side. Well, actually, it helps with the Beeple things for the collider.
Well, yeah, like if it's a mesh collider, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's gonna...
You know, that's...
Nikiko's like asking, GPU. First thing that I will do with splittening is go through my wars and test optimize them in testing phase. Video underscore first thing after splitting is released, benchmark some flux contraptions that I've been worried about. Overhead of, if they're light enough, I'll be using them in modular avatar converted avatars. Nice. Yeah, it's gonna make more systems feasible that might, like, you know, might have been too heavy. Actually, I do have another question. Shenanigans will happen when the splitting happens. What's that? Is that? I think that's ages because of the shenanigans word. Then again, like, a lot of people on our team is shenanigans. I think that's ages. I think that's ages. Is it ages? Is it you? Is it you? Goes, yeah. The question I actually have, like, this one's actually like a more practical one, is like, what would so like one thing I kind of feel like we need for Resonite to grow is get more people to talk about it on social media, because there's like a lot of cool stuff that happens. There's a lot of reasons, you know, people like being on Resonite and they're like, you know, having a lot of fun, but I feel like a lot of people that are outside of Resonite, they don't know about it. Like, you know, they're like, it's almost like it's more of a black box to them. And what I feel, you know, would help us a lot is like if more people kind of shared, you know, clips from Resonite, like all the cool things on social media to, like, you know, showcase what can be done here, what kind of fun you can have. Is there anything that would make you want to share it more? Like what could we do on our end that would make you, like, you know, share more stuff on here and kind of help, like, you know, spread the word of, like, what's the word? Like do more like word of mouth kind of. Well, is it word of mouth when it's social media? Just kind of like essentially talk about it more on the social media. Let's see.
Yeah, that's a good question.
We got we also got more questions. Not questions. Ace Twist, I want to invite friends to Resonite post Splittening. Oh, it's scrolling. But I might wait until post Splittening when Webbook gets updated. Yeah. Spawn a bunch of avis, word hop. When it becomes out of stable, I'm gonna try pop into more public worlds like Campfire Friday and stuff. Oh yeah, Campfire Friday. Like I'm looking for how that feels. Like when with better performance, because that usually has a lot of people. Nukikon, yes, I'll invite more people. Have groups that are waiting to join. Erasmus is saying, yeah, try and pile more people on performance is improved. That is one of the biggest complaints from arrivals, and makes sense. Navy, first thing I'll test, Aerial Guardian. Oh, that's gonna be a good one. Isn't it one of the... Actually, wait, that's one of the Japanese game worlds, isn't it? That was a heavy one, but cool, but heavy. Cosmic Waffle. I had a social media present, I'd be remembered here. Appreciate it. Maybe make a social media presence.
I'm curious how like Creator Jam and stuff will feel.
Yeah, the one that's also I'm really curious about Creator Jam. Come on. Moonbase might also try a few friends we've tried before to try again. Cosmic always screaming every friend I have about game. Thank you. Benos gonna make it easier to record video from inside. There's an official interactive video camera. Yeah, that's like this one thing I've been kind of really thinking about, because like I've really wanted to add something like that, because if it's as easy to record videos, because sometimes I see there's something fun happening, I'm like, I wish I could just go view and record, clip, share, done. I think making it simpler like that would definitely help, and that's it's been on my mind quite a bit. Epic Eastern, if you're talking Richard, Ace on Twitch, public service announcements to everyone phones that there's an access, more people can play it. Nikikon, if you want more people to talk about Resonite, just release the Splittening there. Yeah, I mean, that's also what we're doing. People are excited, so be talking about it. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's the question for chat. We should do this more. I kind of wanna do more stuff where we get to ask you the questions.
I want rigid body physics.
Oh my god, I want rigid body physics too. I feel it's gonna be another of those things that's just gonna lead to infinite shenanigans. That's gonna be that's gonna bring it to Gary's level kind of shenanigans, where you just have things eating everywhere, and I'm somebody will make they'll make a rocket you can stick on something that's gonna make it fly around. They're gonna make a spring constraint, put it on their leg, and they're gonna be flailing behind it, and stuff like that will just happen. That's I feel that's gonna make Resonite feel like a very different game for the shenanigans, because a lot of there's already a lot of shenanigans, but the rigid body physics there's gonna be lots of games, because there's a whole bunch of games that are 90% just physics. And people are already making some, it's just that it's been kind of difficult to make them. Yeah. The pool table or the bowling, Koza made a really good one. There's also the bowling world, but there's so many games where it's just literally physics, eating things around. Vehicles, yeah, people have been doing vehicles, but those also kind of more difficult to do. And when you can just have stuff eating around, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's one of the hallmarks of a game like Gary's Mod.
Yeah, you can, if you had any more devs that it's ages activated.
Yes.
There's literally been a number of times where I'm just in a session and just some vehicle comes in, I'm like, is that Aegis? And it just comes out, I'm like, it is Aegis. There's 50% chance he's gonna arrive, to your session in some kind of vehicle. The next questions is from also Satan Dub. What's your favorite brush? Question to both. I kind of used the yellow glow one because I made it forever ago, and I don't know, I feel like I could make a better one, but also I don't care enough. This works okay enough. It's more of a practical brush. Hull. Oh, that's fun. I remember when I had a convex hull, I was I saw it in the tilt brush and I was like, I'm gonna steal that. and it was like, I made like a post about it. It was like, I stole the Tilbrecht convex hull, and it's a little, like, my idea was like, because people say steal like in sort of tongue-in-cheek like mode, but some people got so upset. They were like, oh, like, I see a lawsuit incoming, and I was like, what? Like, it's like, I was like, it wasn't like actual like steal. It's like the tongue, like tongue-in-cheek when you see like, that's a cool idea, I'm gonna steal that, and they don't, you're not actually stealing it. But I was a little bit taken back by that.
You're stealing it.
You're stealing it. Same way I steal a reality when I 3D scan. It's just like tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, I like the wireframe, like convex hulls. It's a free rock generator.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, there's like so much you can do with it. It's satisfying to work with. Next question's from Kite VT. How long did it take you to stare at the rain in total for that one devlog? Can't remember which one it was. Yeah, that was actually the IPC Shinopit. That's how I was diagnosing it. Like, I found the easiest way to have that happen is just open the shadowed cove and just stare at the rain. And I was like overall, it took me, I think it's like just total like about an hour, because like when the bug was still present, like it would really happen like in the first 3 minutes or something like that. Like the rain would just freeze, like it would be very obvious. So I would like, and every time it happened, I would just be like, okay, happened, shut it down, look at the logs, diagnose what's happening. So I wasn't staring at like the rain for too long, and it wasn't until it was actually fixed that like, I was like staring at it for a long time. Like I had it open for like, I think like 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. Was just like staring at it, and I was like, okay, it's not happening. I'm gonna record a devlog and talk about it, and use it to stare at it some more. So yeah, like the longest part of that was like once it was actually fixed, it's just kind of staring at it long enough to be like, okay, yeah, this is fixed, like it's not happening anymore, and it's not like not a fluke that it's not happening in the first 3 minutes. So I would say my estimate's like about an hour. Check the Froox author is asking, are you worried the performance improvements like Resonite run too fast and actually make other social platforms look bad, so you have to add arbitrary thread sleeps to slow it down? Again, not to make other platforms look bad. I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried that like it's not gonna help as much as some people like will want it to. And right now, like, I don't know how much it's like gonna help, like in some cases. Like, I'm more worried, like, that people might be too overhyped. So I'm more worried about that. I'm more worried like it's not gonna be like it's some like, I mean, to give example is the question about the hitches is because like it's gonna help with hitches. Like hitches are gonna be better, but I'm worried that some people have expectation that now all hitches will just magically be gone, and there will be no more hitches ever again, and that's not gonna be the case. Like there's still gonna be hitches, like there's still gonna be things that will drag the performance down. It's just like it should help like overall bring everything up, but it's not gonna make like everything immune to lag. It's also gonna depend on scenario, because in some cases you're just gonna have lots of geometry to render, and if you become GPU bound, there's a different thing, and that maybe that's bringing your performance down. So it's not a universal fix. It's just it should help a lot across the board. It's gonna help in some cases more than in others, but it's also not the be all and all of all optimizations. There's gonna be more optimizations we'll do in future to make things run even faster, and smooth out like some of the hook, some of the hitches and things. But performance is a never-ending problem. So I'm more like just like hoping like all this work, like it's gonna be substantial improvement and I hope like people will be like happy with it. But I'm more worried like they'll be like overhyped and maybe expect more than it's gonna be. So that's my main kind of worry with it. Like
Yeah,
if it's like you know super fast like and like better than like other places, then I'm like, you know, like that's a win for me.
I mean, it's always going to be user-generated content, so like
Yeah.
it will always be variable, but it should be much easier to make worlds that run very well now.
Yeah,
hopefully.
it brings up like, you know, it makes your stuff just run like way faster. So like you have a lot more headroom and like, you know, this it brings up the ceiling for things. But there's still gonna be, you know, lots of stuff we'll do like in the future. It's also like it will probably bring like other issues because once like, you know, we have bigger sessions, some other stuff might become more of a problem. It's like networking, so we might need to like, you know, implement network optimizations like mesh networking and like, you know, stream calling and other stuff like that. Cosmic Waffle is asking, as I'm just checking time. Cosmic Waffle's asking, what's your second favorite color, either or both of you? I mean, I've got yellow and orange. It's orange.
I've got blue and green, so
Yeah, there we go.
there's your answer.
I would also say, if you wanted from me, if you wanted like one that's not like, you know, related to this, I would say purple. I kind of like, you know, I like combination of yellow and purple. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kind of like pink too. Actually, I used to like pink like when I was a kid, like a lot, and my parents would get me like pink stuff. And I still kind of like the pink color, but it's no longer my top color.
Strawberry lemonade.
I like the like really hot pink, like the like, you know. BD underscores asking, did you ever confirm whether the 9 was magically using HTTP3 or was it just generally faster without HTTP3? I haven't confirmed that. I mean, it's fast enough, so I'm like, you know, it's like, I'm like, I don't care why is it happening. I'm just like it's working fast. Like
Something's
it's not
happening.
it helps. So I'm like, it's not a priority right now. Like we'll probably check eventually if it's like using that because like, you know, it can be additional performance gains, but like I'm like, it's super fast, good enough for me. And also for the subscription, I don't actually remember the context, but Bravo Bear is saying symbiotic codec, interesting. I don't remember what that was in context of.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
either.
You might need to like, if you can provide more context for this. Check it Froox out there, was also had a subscription, thank you. She also made like the Twitch thing we're using, which is super cool. Will BD underscores asking, will the Eldritch textures be implemented in initial pre-release or will this be only brief window of time that we can have solace from them? The Eldritch textures will come whenever they're ready to see you. Platypus744 is asking, just a fun alternate history, what if the IK rework was more popular in the community poll last year and was made focus? What position would platform be in now and near future? I mean, that's kind of like, I don't know, like that's one of those things is like, what would it take, you know, for it to be more popular? I don't know, like, I don't know, like, you know, the hypotheticals, because, like, there's a lot in that, as you know, because, like, if the IK rework was more popular across the board, what would lead to that kind of situation to happen? Because, like, you know, would people's mindsets have to be very different for them to prefer IK over performance? Or would it mean that the performance was much better than it, you know, was in that alternate history? You know, like it always makes me think, like, what does this alternate reality where people preferred IK more than performance like look like? In that alternate, you know, if we assume that like Resonite is the same in that alternate, you know, history, and like, you know, the performance is the same way it was when we made that poll, and IK was the same, and people chose IK over performance. It means that it's the people in that alternate history scenario who have a different mindset, who for some reason, prefer IK over performance. And it's the question of how would that different mindset, how would that mindset be different? Why did everyone prefer IK over performance? And that's why it's kind of really hard for me to answer, because I'm I don't know what that mindset looks like. I guess the part of it would be that we might have if people would have preferred that, and it would have brought the same amount of people that performance update will bring, we maybe might have been in a better spot, because I think the IK rework would have been done already. That one is not as big of a chunk of work as performance. Because the performance is huge. There's a lot of preparatory work, for things. So maybe we would have been in a better spot because we would have gotten there sooner. But also it's kind of moot because it wasn't the thing that most people preferred. The biggest part was the performance. So I guess it would have made things more it would have made things easier for us to get into a better spot where we removed major sort of blocker for a lot of people. So it's I think that's probably the main part. It's if the major blocker for most people was IK, we would have solved it, and maybe we would be in a better spot. We would have more users, would have more funding by this point, but that's not it's not what it was, so it's kind of moot in a way. Next question, let's put this here, and so I'm gonna keep going with these. Sure, can put it. Ace on Twitch 17 is asking, last week you talked about images and having overlay on images that allows you to share them on social media. A while back you also talked about posting system to add more social aspect. This might be a no-brainer. Will there be a button, most likely the first, that allows you to use that image as a post that will then let you be able to add caption or mention other people? I can see this being a good feature, if you want to share an event where you want to understand and other stuff. Yeah, that would be really cool. I want to I think one of the things that would help us a lot socially is having a system where you can make arbitrary posts, and the post can be something I just released a new tool, or I released a new world, or released a new gadget, or maybe I'm working on this, and you show progress, whatever you want to post. And what I would really want to do with that system is make it so you can easily link it to other social media like Blue Sky or YouTube and other things. And if you make a post, we would have Resonite auto post it to other platforms, and also be able to ideally import other platforms into posts here, so you could use Resonite as sort of your hub for social posting. And one of the reasons is because I wanted a tool for that forever, and there's bunch that are paid, and I'm not paying however many dollars for the service every month. I'm just I feel it's gonna help help us having that system natively, and we build our own, and get maybe it'll get more people to use Resonite as well, just by making this more versatile hub tool, which is one of the big parts of our vision, is that the Resonite is this sort of everything app, and you can socialize here, you can use it for work, you can use it for education, you can pretty much whatever you want to do, you can do it in here. And the other part is we could integrate that system with Protoflux, so you could build stuff social flows. Because one of the things I want to do, every time, for example, I start a stream, I have to post, on Discord, so I need to post there, I post on Blue Sky, I need to update this thing and this thing, and what I want to do is just have a script that's a social flow for this thing. I'm doing Resonance, I click button, maybe I fill some basic information, and it makes Discord post, it makes Blue Sky post, it updates the Twitch, you know, maybe it posts like on Telegram, maybe it posts like, you know, in other places, and it just does it for me, and all I have to do is just click a button, maybe fill some basic information that then auto-propagates, and I can set up my script to follow whatever logic I want. And I think that could be like a really, really powerful tooling, and we already have like, you know, other stuff, we have Protoflux, so we can kind of build around that. And I feel the more we build around the tools we have, the more powerful we make them, the more appealing they become to like, you know, lots of different people for doing all kinds of stuff. And it's sort of like, you know, just it kind of enhances everything. And that's like what I would really want to do, is like, you know, make it all sort of interconnected and powerful, you know, like we can kind of interface different things. Next question is from Sepnite. Sepkite? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Now that the splitting is more clear, do you think performance is going to increase by 2 times, 3 times, or 4 times? It's gonna depend a lot. Like, so the thing with performance is like, you know, it's not a single thing. It depends on what you're doing. And there's like some things where there's like 10 times, you know, increase, like for example particle systems. And I've already actually done a test. I've done a test like where I had like, you know, like 30,000 particles, all with collisions, and like it was just running super fast, where like, you know, now with mono it kind of ends up lagging at quite a bit. So that had like a really substantial performance boost. Loading is, you know, significantly faster, like that's multiple times. It's like, you know, but there's also gonna be places like where it's not gonna help us much. You know, there might be places where it's just 2 times, for example, but it's hard. Like, we have to measure it. We have to, like, you know, get to the point like where we run benchmarks, and there's also some things we'll need to tune. So like, I really don't have like a specific number for you. Like, that's something that's gonna be revealed, like, you know, during the testing phase. And also during the testing phase, you know, we might need to tune some things as well, so it's gonna change up a bit. But also, like, you know, it's gonna depend on a scenario. So some things will see like higher boost, some more like lower. It's not gonna be, you know, that everything it gets the same amount of improvement. Next question is from Epic Easton. I feel like worlds get lost due to time, leaving many cool worlds like this one basically abandoned. This will be a real difficult problem to solve, but there are any plans to potentially solve this? So I think it's like a lot, like, you know, like for example the social mechanisms. I think that could help with some of that, because people, you know, if you discover a cool world, you can be like, you know, I found this cool world, and like you post about it, you know, and like maybe more people will see it. We could also add more mechanisms to promoting worlds, so we can be like, you know, check out this world. We haven't, like, people haven't visited this world in like a long while. Maybe it's worth a visit. You know, adding more kind of social aspects where things can sort of like be promoted and people can be encouraged to like share things and explore. I do think like having some kind of like exploration like system as well will help. Having some system to rate things, you know, like for example with a workshop, you'll be like, this is a really good one. That could help, like just kind of like encouraging people to explore. Next question's from Cosmic Waffle. Do you have Phantom Sense in VR? And if so, do you think it affects how you design things for VR? I don't have much. I have like a bit on my nose, like on my face. I would kind of want more, but I don't have more than that. One of the principles though, I think is like good for designing for VR, and this is something like, you know, I've had like for a long time, is design things that like would be comfortable to do you if they were real. Like if it would make you uncomfortable in real life, then it's probably gonna make you uncomfortable in VR, and that's like a good rule of thumb. Once people get, you know, more VR legs, you kind of get used to things, and you're gonna be comfortable with things you wouldn't be in real life. But it is a good kind of, you know, starting point for a lot of things. Like if something has, you know, if you had like a fast-moving things or some interactive tool and has a lot of sharp edges, you know, or even spikes, you'll be like, you know, I don't want to touch that, you know, I don't want to have that near my face, I don't want to have that near my body. You know, you might want to avoid like those things for the design and make it like, you know, like something that be comfy. Like if you made this item as a real thing, would you be comfortable like, you know, playing with it? Beard of Borg is asking, what would you say is a good active hangout world? I mean, the ones like, it kind of depends, like there's a whole bunch, like there's like, you know, some events like Campfire Friday, but they usually rotate different worlds. Ones that people like to hang out is like Virgin Island, like I've seen a bunch of people kind of hosting, you know, different sessions of that one. There's like quite a bunch, like I think ultimately it depends, you know, on the group of people. Like I don't think the world matters as much. There's also like, you know, the recent ones from MMC that had like some really good social worlds. Like this one, like this has been designed as a social world and it's also kind of cool one. It depends what you're doing, like if you're just hanging out, like you probably want something, you know, kind of more quieter, I guess. But it depends what the vibe you want. Like, you know, there's worlds that are bigger, like if you want to like, you know, hang out like and have more small, like more groups. There's also ones that are very cozy, that are like, you know, small. There's literally like a room. So there's a lot, it depends on your mood. Next question's from Cosmic Waffle. Cosmic Waffle is asking, is there a particular point at which you would consider Resonite feature complete and would have nothing else major you want to add? And if so, what do you think you would do once you reach that point? I can pretty much straight up say no. Resonite is pretty much like, you know, this like project which can just go on forever. There's always gonna be millions of things to add. Some of them can be like, you know, very specific, like, you know, like earlier today we were like discussing like what about like set of procedural meshes for graphs, you know, so you can make Excel, you know, in Resonite, and you can make visualizations of things and you can use it for science and education. So there's like, you know, stuff like that. We could go even deeper, maybe add a whole bunch of stuff, you know, say for astronomy or for like, you know, chemistry, like adding components, you know, for like doing like chemical kind of like interactions and like, you know, putting molecules together and doing stuff. Like you could get like, you know, very specific. Like one thing I would want to kind of get back to is actually adding electronic simulation in here, because that's something I kind of experimented with in the past and that's kind of fun to me. And being able to like simulate circuits, like that would be super cool. So there's like, I think there's like, you know, just no matter how long this goes on, there's gonna be stuff to add and stuff to build, and that's kind of like, you know, by design. Like this is designed to be like, you can do anything kind of app, you know. So there, I don't think there's ever gonna be a point like, you know, where I'm like, there's nothing more to add. There's always gonna be more. So, and that's kind of the thing, you know, is like, one of the points of Resonite, one of the reasons I made it is because I wanted to like be like, I want all the cool stuff I ever want to be working on, I just want to make it part of the same shared universe. And that's like, you know, the big kind of fundamental idea behind this. It's like everything I could want to work on. Even there's like games I want to build. Like I haven't done game design in so long, but it's kind of how I started. And there's like games and stories I want to build, and I would want to build them on here. You know, so that's like that's another thing. So there's so much to do, and everything I kind of want to do, I want to, you know, make it part of Resonite, because the more stuff is added to Resonite, the more stuff is added, you know, to Froox engine, the more powerful this place becomes, because whatever is added now works with everything else. It's part of the same universe, and it just makes the universe like, you know, richer and more capable. Cosmic Waffle is asking, also the character control component mentions proper rigid body support is planned. Is that on the radar somewhat soon or more of a long-term goal? Depends what you mean by soon. I will say there is non-zero chance it might happen this year, but also maybe not, so like, I don't know. it depends whatever the priorities end up like being and how it ends up like shaking out, and like I haven't like really thought ahead like for some of the things, so I'll say maybe no, not this year. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Like usually like once I'm kind of like finished with like a big task, that's kind of like where things become a little bit clearer on what the next goal is gonna be. But yeah, like I would say kind of more long term, I guess. We'll see. Like I haven't really made up my mind. Resonite is asking, is the Eldritch texture the secret to the splitting ritual? I think that's how you pronounce that.
Yes, I think you got the dialect right.
Also, the answer is yeah, that's what he said. Next question is from Cosmic Waffle. Base game Matrix support when? Why isn't currently supported?
What?
We can use
matrices?
We have matrices. You might need to elaborate a little bit because like they're like we do support matrices, they're like fixed size. I don't know if you're asking for like, you know, variable size matrices, but we do have matrices. You can do matrix math. I would say like give us a little bit more context on that question. Also, generally the answer for why isn't something currently supported is because like we haven't prioritized it yet.
Yeah.
Next question's from BD _. If you add Tracy profile to Froox engine, will it be available for users to use profile their Flux contraptions and mods? And I mean, I figure it would. I guess the main thing is, you know, like, because you mentioned like there's like not really an overhead until it's used. So like if that's the case, like we could probably just have it in the base and then like, you know, be like, use this tool. But
there's a way you can structure it that will like make it so that the code for the profiling will be elided until you enable like a flag or something.
Yeah. Well, you might require recompilation maybe. I mean, worst case, like, you know, we'll have like, I think we can have like, you know, two builds, one that's instrumented, one that's not, where it's like compiled away. And if you want to do profiling, we'll be like, okay, run this version, connect this tool, you know, and it's like available. But I feel we will make it available somehow.
Yeah, like it will be the Tracy profiler. I don't know if there's anything specific in regards to that.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're... Yeah.
Nikikon's asking, I know you're interested in worlds which connect to each other, and I have been working on one, Jupiter Station, with its airlocks and space ferries. How do you recommend people do things like that? What do you like to see in those sorts of transitions? What sort of features would you like to implement for it in the future? I mean, I don't really know. It kind of depends how you structure things. I don't have like any specific things for that. Next question is also from Nikikun. I may ask you before, but what would you like to see in sci-fi setting? What kind of sci-fi worlds excite you? What sort of sci-fi content would you like to see more of? I really like hard sci-fi stuff that sort of like that's very far future kind of thing, like stuff that has to do with mind upload, you know, simulated realities, and also that kind of somehow messes with like the fundamentals of laws of physics. Like for example, a lot of novels by Greg Egan, like that's like some of my favorite sci-fi. I would love to see more of that kind of thing. The Expanse, that's also like a great series. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but some of the stuff that happens, especially in the last 3 books, like I really love that kind of stuff. So what about you, sir? Do you have like anything on this one?
I like Foundation.
Oh, Foundation's also good. Oh, there's a new season coming out.
Yeah, I like the black hole ships. Those are really cool.
So I'm going to like speed through questions a bit because like we have 25 minutes left and there's still like a quite bit. Beat underscore is asking summer schnuppet. Yeah, it's very hot. Is face sweaty or summer schnuppet? Kinda. Yeah, like like it's horrible just feeling it on your face and it's like you can't scratch yourself. Nuki-kun, anyway, what's your favorite board game? I mean, I don't play it as a board game usually, but it is a board game. It's Blood on Clock Tower. It's the social deduction game, so I would say that.
I don't think I have a favorite board game. At least I don't have any that I played recently.
There's also one, I don't know, does it count as a board game? Is Cards Against Humanity?
I guess you could consider that like
It's not
in
quite
the
a
same
board game.
realm. It's like a sit down and play it kind of game around a table.
I like that one too. And there's actually sessions like every Wednesday. That's quite fun. So, what's your least favorite board game? I don't know that many board games, so like I don't really have one that'd be like least favorite.
Yeah.
Nuki-kun, yes, both of you tell us about sci-fi board games. What do you have? What do you hate? I mean, we kind of just answered that.
We just didn't.
Okay, Volps, I'm curious, I don't remember if this was answered. What is the next biggest goal after splitting? Is it like tons of bug fixes, working on your own render, or just implementing tons of features? The next goal haven't really been decided yet. There's like a bunch of things that are floating around, but not like right now the focus is splittening, so I'm like, that's my brain is full of that, and like I don't have too much space for deciding on what the next one is gonna be. Okay, cool. First thing, oh, this is when we asked the question. Oh boy, we're kind of behind.
Oh, they're talking about.
Yeah, this one we asked the question. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Questions. If you were talking within the chat, please ask, like, you know.
Yeah, please don't do the thing where you add like a question mark at the beginning of your thing and then just say something, because that like clogs up the question queue.
Yeah, I really don't know like how much is. Next question's from Nuki-kun. How well will rigid body work over slow connections? That was my main issue with my flying machine engine. So the biggest part of rigid body physics is actually the networking, because we have to make it like be pretty efficient, and it can be made like pretty efficient, but it also is gonna depend on how many rigid bodies you actually have. We can have, you know, maybe have it like adapt, so like it's kind of able to scale, and you're gonna maybe have more like glitches with the physics, so it's gonna depend, but like that, you know, the specific answer is gonna depend once it's actually implemented. We'll have to test it. Ace on Twitch 17, can we have next week's Resonance on net 9? That depends on how much the implementation is done over the next week, so like I don't know for sure yet. If it works out, then yes, but we'll see. We'll see like what state is it in.
We shall see.
Next questions from Moonbase. In response to concerns on performance not improving as much as people would want, do you still have data model rework, which will bring more optimizations in performance? I mean, yes, there's more stuff we have to do, but also like I'm in a state where I'm kind of like, we need to do some other student performance right now, and we've had this for a while, so I hope like, you know, this is the final phase of this push and that it's gonna be like enough. Because there's more stuff we want to do in the future, but also like, you know, I do want to focus on other stuff for a bit before going back to performance. And that's kind of, you know, the part is like, you know, I don't want to like end up being like, okay, like we need to focus on performance for like, you know, next several months more.
Yeah.
I was getting like a little bit like worn out with it. And I guess like, you know, that's the part is like, you know, where I'm like worried is like, they're like, you know, people are not gonna like let me kind of like, you know, focus on more things, like that people want like, you know, more performance work. But I do think it's gonna be like substantial, so I think like it'll be good to like move to other things, but that is my worry, you know, that like people will be like, no, this is not enough, we need more, and we'll like spend like more time, and we'll see. Next question's from Sage and Dub. I mean, it's not often now, I think, but I remember seeing the streams that the session was getting heavy, dynamics started flopping out very fast. Why does that happen? Any tips on avoiding that? It pretty much happens because the simulation steps become so big, the simulation becomes unstable, because like the simulation essentially compensates based on the frame rate, and if the simulation step is too long, it essentially moves too fast, so it kind of overshoots, and then overshoots back and back and forth, and it just becomes unstable. There was supposed to be a system that prevents that from happening by limiting the simulation time step, but it's not working right. I haven't really focused on fixing that, because like main focus is just improving the performance and making sure it doesn't get to that state, but it's something, you know, like that might like touch again at some point, depending. Again, if you're having a conversation in the chat, please like don't include like the question mark, so it doesn't like, you know, pollute our chat with it. Question from Epic Eastern, question about social posting system, would it also support Fediverse software, Mastodon, Sharky, PeerTube, Go to Social, Coma, etc. Yeah, like the goal would be pretty much like, you know, have support for as many platforms as we can, because the more it supports, the more powerful it is. And it's pretty much, you know, what I would want is like, you know, I make a single post and it just posts it like, you know, to everything. I can be like, have presence on lots of like media and have like, you know, Resonite be the hub of it, and the more we support, the better it is. Protrojan Flex is asking, we've seen how much Net9 speeds up word loading, but how noticeable do you think will improved handling of parallel downloads will be for things like inventory, contacts, word browser, all the things that require a lot of individual small asset downloads? I think pretty much the same, like all of that is using the same system, so, and when I've been like using it, it does feel snappier, so I think like, you know, it's just improvement across the board. And those, like I said, like those systems, they're not using, you know, anything different, so it's pretty much like, you know, the same improvement. Which is also like one of the benefits, you know, of like having unified system for handling this stuff, because if the unified system, you know, gets improvement, and everything using it gets the improvement as well. There's a PSA supergroup. I guess we can like bring this one up. They're giving us a PSA, but it's also been in the chat. And this is actually a hard sci-fi uploading of physics. Okay. Those are all the questions now. Okay, so we sorted through them. We've got 17 minutes left, so if you got any more questions, feel free to ask. I would probably suggest not like super long-winded ones at this point, because like we're, you know, at the end of the stream, so we might not be able to get into depth of some things, but if they're like long ones, we might not be able to get to all of the questions, but you can still ask. Still got like, you know, time. Cosmic Waffles asking, are you enjoying working on the Splittening? I mean, both yes and no. It is a lot of... It is kind of fun, like, you know, being able to finally work on this, because I've been imagining working on this for years at this point. Like, I've been like, I want to get to this point where we get to use all these cool tools and just feel it make, you know, everything kind of feel better across the board. And there's been a lot of preparatory work. Like, I've literally been thinking about this for years, and now to finally be able to work on it, I'm like, you know, it's here, it's happening, and then I have the build. Like, I've imagined like the build, like how it's gonna feel, like, you know, having the build actually run on .NET 9 and have it render across IPC mechanism and have all of it working. Like, I was like looking forward to that, like, you know, for years. and now like I actually have it working on my machine, and like sometimes I'm playing with the build and I'm like, this is real now. Like I'm literally working on it right now. I'm making it happen. Is the thing I wanted to work on. I wanted to make happen for so long, and it's now. I'm finally at the point. I'm finally done all the prerequisite work. You know, I'm done with photos. I'm done with audio. I'm finally working on this, like, you know, big goal of the Switch, and it's gonna make things feel much better going forward. So there's that element to it, like, you know, where I'm like, it's happening. I wanted this to happen for so long. The other side of it though is because I'm like, I need this to happen as fast as possible. Like, you know, we want to do a big marketing push. We, like, you know, have a lot of depending on this. We want to, like, you know, we want to have, like, you know, a lot more kind of community events, you know. I need to make it happen as fast as possible, so it's also kind of a crunch, which becomes like tiring and, you know, wears me out. So it's kind of like, and also I don't have as much time. Like, you know, I wanted to play some games. I don't have time for them right now. I wanted to, like, you know, spend time like doing other things, but I don't have the time right now because it's just crunch. Is largely crunch from the splittening. So. And then there's, like, you know, the aspect, the worries, where it's like, what if it's not gonna be enough for people? Like, you know, like, what if all this work will be for, you know, and people will be unhappy with it? And there's, like, you know, bring some anxiety to it. And then the other part is, you know, what if we do all of this work, and then people are not gonna care? Like, you know, maybe people will not come back to the platform, and, you know, all of this, like, you know, which we were like thinking, you know, this is like, people said, a lot of people were like, you know, this is one of the major reasons we don't play is the performance. So our thinking is, this is gonna help us bring more people, it's gonna bring more support, it's gonna bring more funding, but then there's also the anxiety of, like, you know, being like, what if it doesn't? And I think, like, in big part it's kind of irrational. Because, like, you know, the data we have, like, you know, switches otherwise. The data we have with the headless, when we did the Net 9 switch on headless, well, it was actually Net 8 back then, but when we did a switch, we saw substantial performance improvement across the board. And that was the reason we, you know, like, I wanted to do it for headless first, because it runs pretty much the same code, except, you know, the rendering bits. And I was like, you know, how much is it gonna help? And it showed it helps a lot. And that's like a strong data point, is, you know, showing, okay, this runtime actually helps run Froox engine way faster. So there's data there, you know, that's showing like it should make things way better. And same, you know, with the survey, we asked people, what's the main reason you don't play, you know, or what would make you play more? And a lot of people said is the performance, and people said it across different demographics. Like, people who play Resonite a lot had the same answer, people who play on it regularly had the same answer, people who don't play had the same answer. All of them said they will play more, or they will want to play once the performance is better. We hear it from a lot of people too, like, you know, where you say, you know, like, you're gonna bring more people onto the platform once the performance is better. We see a lot of comments where people are like, I don't play because, you know, my machine cannot handle it, or because the performance or the frame rate is really low. So a lot of the data is, like, you know, saying it should help a lot. Like, so, like, you know, the rational part of me is like this is the right thing to do. We should be, like, working on this. This is the best approach we can take. It should help a lot with performance, it should help bring a lot more people, it should help bring a lot more support. But then the irrational part of the brain is like, what if it doesn't? And that's kind of, you know, hard to deal with. And the closer I get, you know, to having the splittening done, or even having the pre-release, the more I'm like, now it's gonna, you know, now it's like the moment of truth, like, what if it's not gonna be enough? And the closer it gets, you know, the more anxious I get. So, like, it's kind of this weird case where, like, you know, I'm both, like, getting excited and also getting more anxious as it gets kind of closer. So, like, yes, I both enjoy it and I also don't enjoy it, and it's kind of, conflicting in my brain with that. Yes. Kai Wolves is asking, why does Resonite save world if you close program externally? I find it pretty annoying. The main reason is like we want to prevent data loss when possible. We had actually, like with early versions of Froox engine, it didn't used to do that, and what would happen is people would happen to close it, sometimes by accident, and they would lose all their changes. So figured it's better to save things rather than not. Because data loss, is something we want to avoid whenever possible. And I get worst cases where you don't want to save it, but the flip side is people will lose their data, and I don't think that's a good trade-off. Would ideally make it potentially configurable, so you could request a toggle for it. I think it might be kind of best solution there. But we're not gonna I don't think we will change the default, because the default is there to prevent data loss. Varex 120 is asking, are there any updates planned for in-game tutorials to help guide new players in a better creative flow? Yes, the R team, they're actually working on a new help tab, and they showcased some of it on the last recap stream we had this Friday, so that should help people a lot. If you want to see more, I recommend checking out their office hours on Wednesday. They might be able to kind of show you a little bit more about it. So Navy saying, you can do it, Froox, thank you. And I said to which we believe in Froox, thank you. Off. Thank you, you guys are sweet.
Yeah. Sorry, I just saw him. Never mind, that's unrelated.
Off. Thank you. I mean, for me it's not a thing of building it myself, it's more it's more I'm just gonna work through it and get through it, but I'm I hope it works out, and I don't have every reason to believe it will, but my brain is if there's 0.1% chance something will go wrong, I'll be I'd be 90% focused on that 0.1%, and it's annoying and makes things hard, but that's what it is. We got 7 minutes left, so we still got time for a few questions, probably short ones at this point. We might also end it a few minutes early if it's there's not too much. I need to get some water. Actually, I might have some water here. I have water here, but it's not the VR-friendly bottle, so I'm not gonna do it.
I'm actually... Why does my necklace have a G on it? Well, I mean, first of all, it's a collar. This is a necklace. But the reason it has a G on it is because it's from... I used to play Gary's Mod a lot back in the day. That's where I got a lot of my programming knowledge and intuition from. It's where I learned math. I literally learned trigonometry with Dark RP because I wanted to make things fly around in my head, or fly around my head in a circle. That's how I learned trigonometry, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I played 1,000 hours of Gmod or something crazy like that. So it's there to stay, probably.
It's a permanent addition.
Yes, expression too.
The next question is from Ace on Twitch 17. What's your favorite mango? An edible one. The perfectly ripe one. Or maybe in the form of ice cream. Or a smoothie. Actually, there's
sherbet.
Oh, a sherbet. I don't know if I have a sherbet. I mean, I don't mind going lots of forms. freeze-dried is good too in chocolate.
Not a question, but Bapplar mentions the amount of transparency and communication you and the Resonite team do about ongoing technical work, the roadmap, etc. make me super hopeful in Resonite's future. Thank you so much for that.
Hey, thank you. I do like kind of being like very open with the development, like it's kind of like one of my kind of like philosophies.
Yeah.
And it's like...
It can... It can be a double-edged sword sometimes, but I think it's something that we prefer to do because not a lot of companies do it, and I want to stand out.
A lot of companies will just kind of be like very like hush-hush with stuff they do and like not do this kind of stuff, and like, you know, they do want us to be like different, and also like because it kind of like it feels like it's better that way, and it's like, you know, like I oftentimes like see in other companies and I'm like I don't want us to be like that, you know, I want us to like be different, and it's definitely there's negatives to it, and there's like cases where I'm like I understand why the other companies don't do it, but also like, you know, like I feel like we should be different, we should be, you know, we should be the change we want to see in the world, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
Also, like, it's also just, I enjoy, like, you know, talking about technical stuff and so on. It's one of the reasons, like, started, like, these, like, you know, these resonances as well. It helps be able to ramble about it a fair bit. And talking about, like, you know, the reason and the motivations and things. It's in part because, like, for me, like, you know, I'm very, like, technical person, but also, like, I like, you know, a lot of, like, kind of broad design and architectural design and sort of, like, philosophy of, like, how we approach things and how we solve problems on a high level. And I like to kind of combining these two, because I can be like, you know, this is a big sort of philosophy of how this should be designed. Because, like, you know, these kind of, like, things, like, lead you to this thing and this thing. And it can be like, you know, this is exactly how we achieve it on, you know, technical level. And I feel with a lot of companies, like, you know, it also is a thing where, like, you know, those things are done by two different people, and like that, like, leads to, like, inconsistencies, because, like, you know, they need to communicate, and communication is ultimately lossy. And you're not able to, like, you know, really give the vision you have in your head for something and have that, like, translate, like, fully. So, like, I think, like, you know, there's kind of benefit, and, like, in being able to talk about it, like, you know, it's, like, I enjoy, like, the kind of process, like, sharing. Okay, we got about 2.5 minutes left. We have maybe time for one question, but I think there's too many more questions coming. So we'll probably, like, end this at this point. I should not forget, let's check first if we have anybody to raid, because if anybody's, like, streaming right now, we do want to send everyone to them, because we want, like, you know, we want more people to stream Resonite and showcase, and so if you're a streamer, like, this is a really good time to, like, be streaming Resonite, because we'll send people your way. But it doesn't seem that anybody is streaming, unfortunately. Not even Creator Jam. Yeah, I don't see anyone. So unfortunately, I think this will end here. I could do a fun and just send people, like, to someone random, but I don't know who. Yeah, I think I might just, like, end it here, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't see anyone. So with that, thank you everyone, you know, for watching. Thank you, Cyro.
Yeah.
Guys on Twitch, about Resonite app. That's what we're streaming on. We're gonna raid ourselves. Yeah, thank you everyone for, like, you know, watching. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for Cyro for, like, you know, being here, helping answer things. And thank you everyone for, you know, for your support, whether it's, like, you know, just playing Resonite, being part of the platform, you know, talking about it, showing people around, building cool content, or supporting us, you know, financially, whether it's on, like, Patreon or Stripe. If you do support us on Patreon, please consider switching to Stripe, because we get about 10% more funds for the same amount you give, which actually helps us a lot. And like, in case you also missed it, Stripe is now out of beta. So the major bug with it, like, you know, it wasn't even that it wasn't a major bug, but the last kind of bug we considered a blocker was fixed. So it's pretty much stable. It actually gives better experience than Patreon. So please consider like switching, because that'll help us quite a bit. So thank you very much, and we'll see you for the next one, and hopefully Splittening pre-release tomorrow. Hopefully, assuming things don't explode.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. You might be able to get your hands on it.
And your legs.
Yeah, just cross everything to become a pretzel. I don't know what I'm doing.
If all of your pretzel energy combined might make it happen, maybe.
Yes. So I'm gonna check if there's nobody to stream in case like somebody started streaming. Nope. Okay. Unfortunately, this ends here. Nobody to send you to. So thank you very much. Thank you very much again, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, fellas.
Barf.